Okay. Yeah. So, hi everybody. Well, welcome back to the third session of AI4I AMA Live, where you guys can ask anything about the AI for Industry program, anything content related, admin related, concept related, whatever you're not so sure about, just feel free to ask it. And there are a few ways to ask your questions. First way is before the session, you can always go to find that Google form. The Google form will look something like this. And then you just ask your questions here, blah, blah, blah. And then if you have any comments, anything, you just type them here. And if you want us to be able to contact you more easily, you can always leave your email or your AI Makerspace ID. Okay. So we've got one question so far prepared for this session. The second way that you ask your questions will be directly in the chat. Right. So directly in the chat, you can use the YouTube chat. And if you're not familiar with it, so every live stream on YouTube has a chat box where you can see all your fellow learners and how they are chatting. And then right here, you can just ask your questions. Yeah, and then this will probably be the best way so that we can give you an instant response or a near instant response. As usual, I try not to spend too long on any one question because not everybody is interested in all the questions. All right. Okay. So this time we have an interesting question. It is anonymous, so we'll just go through it. First question we have for today is about choosing your model. When you're doing machine learning, you're trying to choose your model. What is the process or the workflow in which you choose your model, right? Choose which estimator to use, right? So, that's a really good question. Of course, it's a little bit more advanced. We noticed from some surveys and in the previous sessions, we noticed that a lot of the learners were still catching up on learning Python and learning Pandas. So this may be a little bit more advanced, but hopefully this will still be helpful and you get a taste of what's to come as well. So just to recap, the entire point of doing machine learning is to come up with a model. And the model is able to do predictions. Based on inputs. So it takes inputs and then it gives some output predictions, right? So what is the good way of choosing the right model, choosing the right algorithm or estimator to come up with your model, right? There's hundreds of different estimators and algorithms. How do you do it? So for what I do, generally, the first estimator or method that I look towards is just to use XGBoost, which is extreme gradient boosting. So if you do some Googling, you can find a lot of information about XGBoost. Some people call it the queen of machine learning. So it is one of the good things is that it often just has very good performance, very good model performance for various types of tasks in machine learning. Yeah. And if you go to kaggle.com, so go to kaggle.com and you look at the competition notebooks. So this is a website I've mentioned also in my previous sessions. This is pretty much the home of data science. So if you go to if you go to the different competitions which are closed and they're finished already, you can look at completed competitions. So for example, this one, global forecasting notebooks. Yeah. So if you look at the competition winners, a lot of them, they tend to end up using XGBoost. Yeah. So you can see that. And the competition winners are usually the ones which end up with the highest model accuracy or the best performing models. After trying XGBoost, I will also do some Googling to do some research on what type of estimators are usually used for the particular task that I'm doing. Because for different tasks, different estimators will be meaningful. And when I say the word estimator, it's talking about the algorithm that we use to choose to get the model, to train the model. So if, like, for example, if you're doing text classification of text input into different categories. So you can find, I found this article, for example, which talks about, this is on Towards Data Science. It's a common, like a blog post style website with data science related posts. So they were talking about, here. When we talk about the actual training, step 3 of the classification model, which are the most popular algorithms? The most popular algorithms are multinomial, naive Bayes, and SEM. Right. So definitely I will try these as well and add them to the list of candidates. And then when I have this list of candidates, another resource I like to look at is sklearn. sklearn has a page specifically for choosing the right estimator. So you just follow the flowchart from the start. You're doing classification, text data, yes, then it says naive Bayes, right? It says naive Bayes. And then once I have this list of different candidates, then I'll tune the different candidates with different hyperparameters. So the hyperparameters are basically those parameters, those inputs that you need to give to the algorithm manually, basically. Tune it to get the best version, and then you score each different model based on different metrics, depending on what task you're doing, and then you choose the best one from there. Yeah, so hopefully that clarifies. So this is a time-consuming process. It is one of the common things that data scientists are doing. Yeah. Okay. So any other questions in the chat? So now, feel free throughout the entire session. Just feel free to ask your questions directly in the chat, and we will get to answering them. If not, another thing you can do in the chat is to suggest which data camp exercises you're having trouble with or you are interested in going through. Yeah, right. Because when we don't have questions, I'll be going through live data camp exercises. And later on, maybe I may go through some live EDA as well, some exploratory data analysis, just to show you guys how I would do EDA. And EDA is one of the most fun parts about data science and machine learning. And the whole process is one of the most interesting parts. Okay, so PG has an excellent question in the chat right now. Hi PG, thanks for joining us today for our session. Also just feel free to say hi in the chat to all your fellow learners. So this session is restricted to AI for industry learners, so just feel free to just say hi. So PG has an excellent question here. Let me just put it as well into this sheet. Excellent question. This line actually is quite confusing. If you actually, it's confusing in a number of ways. It's confusing in a number of ways. But anyway, I was just doing some of my own machine learning just refreshers, and we're doing, and I was also doing a train test split. But actually, PG, can you clarify on your question? Which parameters are you confused with? Are you talking about the parameters within train test split? X, Y, and then test size? Or are you confused about why there is like X train, comma, Y, X test, comma? Oh, okay, sure. The parameters, sure. Okay. Actually, there's multiple parts of this line which can definitely be confusing to new learners. Okay. Can. So the first thing that we have in this line, okay, what it normally looks like is something like this. Okay. Something like this. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. So it looks something like this. Okay. So you have X train, X test, Y train, Y test, and then equals train test split, XY, and then some optional inputs, optional parameters. So for those who are new to Python, parameters are inputs to a function, and this is a function. A function always has a parenthesis after the name of the function. Okay. So X here refers to the features, i.e. the inputs which will be given to your model. The inputs which will be given to your model. Okay? And these inputs will be used by your model to predict the output. The output is called the target, i.e. Y. So Y here is the target, is the output. Okay? So for example, on Learn AI in our makerspace, there is a hands-on practice where we are predicting HDB resale prices using square footage, using the different districts. So the district, the square footage, the story on which, like 5th story, 8th story. So all these are inputs to the model. This will all be X. Okay, all be X. And this is in the form of a data frame. It will be in form of a data frame with the columns which are the inputs that you want, the features that you want. Okay, and then Y would be, in our example, the HDB resale price example, Y is just the resale price. Y is just a resale price. So it will come in the form of a series, a Pandas series. So a series is just like a column. It's just like a column in Excel. So yeah. So how it would, yeah. So now you have these two inputs. These are the two main inputs. So X is your features, the things which are using to put into the model, and then Y is the target, the thing which will be predicted, the output of the model. So let me just show you, for my example, what X looks like. So X, so just in my simple example here, this is a data set of trending YouTube videos. Okay, so each row is a YouTube video. So X here is a data frame. You can see if I do type, it says it's a data frame. If I see Y, it's a series. You see series. And if I check Y, it just shows you what it is. It is just a series of numbers, right? So Y is my output. output. And then this is the input. The features and the target. X is the features, Y is the target. It's a common notation within the machine learning community. Yeah, so it's good to know. X and Y. X is the features, the inputs. Y is the target output. So then X, the inputs will be split into the training inputs and the test inputs. So when you are actually testing your trained model, it will see all of these inputs. It will see all of these inputs. Okay. And it will not see the outputs that it's supposed to generate. Because why? Because it's supposed to be generating its own outputs. And then we will test its predictions and score them against Y test. Okay. And we score them against Y test. So for example here, here we have X test. Okay, so predictions, we have, this is the model that I've created. I've trained this model and I do dot predict using X test. So I give it the inputs and it will come up with the outputs. Outputs, I call it predictions, i.e. the Y. And then now I'm going to evaluate the mean square error between the predictions and the actual correct answers. The correct answer is the Y test, the answer sheet. The answer sheet. And then now that I can test the accuracy. Okay. So PG asks, the other camp exercises usually says they have already prepared the train and test data. What is X train, Y, X test, Y train, and Y test? Okay. So I usually use this analogy when I'm explaining train test split. So when you are training a model, it is like you are, I think people in the chat also who have heard this before, we are sick of this really. So it's like you are training a little boy. You are teaching a little boy how to perform a certain task. Okay. So for example, let's say you are asking him to understand some topic. Some topic, maybe it's ratios, mathematics ratios. Okay. His final aim should be to master all questions on ratios. All questions on ratios. So what you need, what you do is you lock him in the tower. You throw his handphone, throw his Game Boy, and no more Game Boy nowadays. Okay, so you give him a 10-year series. You give him a 10-year series to practice on all of the ratio questions. So he will have a lot of ratio questions to study, to train on. So he will train on all these ratios questions. Okay, so the questions that he's trained on is the X train. These are the questions. These are the information given by the questions. Then he will also look at the answers for all those questions in the 10-year series. That is Y train. While he's training, what is the answers? That's Y train. Okay. Then after you lock him in this tower and let him train, learn all of these 10-year series, you finally open up the little window to the tower, and then you slide into his room. You slide in your test paper to test how well he has learned the concepts of ratios. Right. So you're going to give him the test, and the test will be X test. You give him X test. So you give him X test, and you ask him to predict, come up with his answers based on X test. Okay, come up answers based on X test. And then my answer sheet, which he doesn't have, is Y test. Y test. So then I will compare my answer sheet to his answers and see how accurate he is. In this RMSE is the root mean square error. It's a way to see how close his answers are to my answers in a simple one value metric. So hopefully that clarifies. Yeah, I definitely can understand if me just explaining one time will not be enough for you to grok or to understand this concept inside you, like put it inside you and understand it as a concept. So you can just listen to it a few times, listen to my explanation a few times, try to understand what I'm saying. Yeah, try to go through the words and the explanations and understand each line of what I'm saying. If you don't understand any words, then you can just Google for the words. You can ask questions. Within the YouTube stream, you can also rewind. So you can just rewind to rewatch the explanation. And you can also fast forward back to live. Sorry, it looks like I was disconnected for a few seconds. Looks like the Wi-Fi in this place is not fantastic. Hopefully that will get better. Yeah, so his answers will be the output when you do your model.predict. Model.predict will return the answers, his answers. And then we compare this answer, I call it preds, i.e. predictions, compare his predictions to the actual answer key. Does that clarify? Excellent question. Very good question. Let's go back. Okay. Yeah, actually another thing I want to highlight about yes, new question. Okay, here's a new question. Oh, fantastic. Dot fit and dot transform. This is a very good question. So let me just finish off what I want to say about this train test split. For those who are new to learning Python, right, which is the majority of the learners in AI4I, what you understand when you see this equal sign is that this is an assignment operator, right? That's what I always teach. This is an assignment operator. So when you see the assignment operator, you always look on the right side first. The right side first is this function, train test split, blah, 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 blah. This value you evaluate the right side first. Then you take that value, you put it into a box and you call it some variable name, correct? You call it some variable name. But new learners will or should be confused about why this variable name looks weird. Because this is not one variable, this is 4 variables. This first variable is xtrain, second is comma, next variable is xtest, comma, ytrain, comma, ytest. There's 4 variables here. So this value on the right side is going to be assigned into 4 different variables. How does that work? So this is actually what we call tuple unpacking or unpacking. Basically, let's say I do list equals to 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do A, B, C, D equals to ls. Okay. If I print A, if I save this, then I do python my file .py. So you can see that this actually works. Wow, this looks weird, but actually this is the same as what train test split is doing. This is what train test split is doing. So ls has 4 values, and these 4 values will be assigned into A, B, C, D respectively. The first value will go into A, second value go into B, third value go into C, and fourth value will go into D, just based on the positions. It's based on the positions. Yes, this is called list unpacking or tuple unpacking or whatever. So basically, when you go back to what train test split is doing, it's returning a list-like structure of 4 values. And then those 4 values will be assigned to x train, x test, y train, and y test. Okay, yeah, just want to get that out of the way. Your next question is, what does, I'll fill this up later. What does fit and transform do? Let's fix that English a little bit. Okay, so if we go back to my analogy just now, we are talking about the little boy, teaching this little boy how to learn ratios, right? How to solve ratios questions, right? And then you give him lots of 10-year series, and he will study all the 10-year series and the answers. The 10-year series questions are the X, right? The inputs that he will be given. The 10-year series answers are the Y, right? Is the Y, the output that he's supposed to give when he reads the question. Okay. Fit is the process of training. Is the entire process of training. It is within this one function, .fit, the actual training. So what normally happens here, I have a sample actual workflow. So here we have the train test split. I define the model. Here I define the model, which is the regressor, XGB regressor, XGBoost regressor. And then next thing I do is to train the model. So I train the model, XG, so this is the model, and then I will do .fit. So normally when we talk about .fit, it's a function, i.e. a method on a model, right? So we do the model .fit with the training data. After this step is done, after this line is completed, the model has been trained already. So it's able to make predictions already once this step is done. So you can imagine that for a very large model, this is where all the time takes, all the processing time. So this .fit can take hours to run. It can take days to run. Yeah. So .fit is that. .transform. That's a good question. So .transform. Okay. So for .transform, in some cases you let's see. Okay, let's go through .transform. How do I give a good explanation of .transform? So under sklearn, fit transform. Okay. How can I explain this well? Okay, so for example, right, let's say I have, let's find a good example here. Okay. A simple example to say, right, is just to say that the transform turns the inputs into outputs. It takes the inputs from X and turns it into the outputs, which is Y. So this can be so that's the simplest explanation. So when you do transform, you turn the inputs into the outputs. So you are giving it model.transform X returns y. It returns y, which is the outputs. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that is sufficiently clear. Yeah. Okay, so let me quickly type this into the chat. In the meantime, whenever you have other questions, just feel free to type them into the chat, or suggest which data camp exercises you want us to go through together. Yeah, whichever exercises you want us to go through together. If not, then we will proceed from our where we left off last week, which is still in learning about Python. Yeah. So PG has a follow-up question. How does Python know how to transform, how to turn the x into the y, right? So it only can do transform if you have already fit the model, if you have already trained the model. So transform only works when you've already trained the model. Yeah. So if you have already trained the model, then you can transform x into y. If you have not trained the model, then transform will probably give you an error. So next question, another question he has is about train test split. Does train test split always unpack into 4 outputs? Exactly, yes, it always unpacks into 4 outputs. And that's the way that it's set up. So it will always unpack into 4 outputs, which we always assign to be x train x test, y train y test by convention. Yeah. It's the easiest way for us to know which ones are the inputs and which ones are the outputs, and also which ones are for training and which data is for testing. Yeah. Okay, great. So thanks. Okay, I've managed to answer your question. That's good. Great. Okay. Yes. Okay. So any other questions so far? If not, then we will move on to the live coding part of the session. But of course, even while I'm doing the live coding, you can also ask questions either about the live coding itself or about any other questions you have with AI4I, or even feedback, or just say hi to your other fellow learners in the chat. We understand that this this session for AI4I, AMA live session, the notice that we gave you is we only informed you today about the stream link. But for future sessions, you can always get the new stream link from the forum topic in the AI Makerspace. So let me just show you guys what we have so far. And on the same forum topic, forum thread, you can also see all the previous AI4I AMA live session questions, and also the previous streams. You can also find their previous collated answers and questions. Okay, so let me just bring you guys there right now. Forum. We go to the forum. So how to get here is from Makerspace, which if you're in AI4I, you should have this bookmarked. This is how you get to your course. So your enrolled courses, it should be under your enrolled courses. You'll get to your course. But you can also check out the forum. So this is the forum. It's loading. Yeah, so for the forum, go into community events. You can see the first one is AI4I AMA live sessions. So just click on that guy. You should also have received an email about it. Which will give you the link to this page, to this forum topic. And in this forum topic, we will always update the next session so that you always have the stream link to the next session. And you can always access it from here. Okay. And you can, of course, also always access the past sessions from here. Not only the past sessions, you can also access the past collated Q&As. So for example, for session 2, you can go to the Q&A. These are the questions and these are the answers. Okay. Great. So without further ado, let's continue on to the exercises part of the live session. Okay, we'll do some basic exercises. And last session we left off here at this is the introduction to Python for data science, and here we're looking into the second part of the course is Python lists, and this is replace list elements. Feel free to continue to ask your questions right in the chat, and we will also get to them immediately. Okay, so here we have a list. The list is a data structure, a way to hold data, and data is information, just information. Okay, it's a way to hold many different pieces of information, right? So, and each piece of information is separated by commas. So the first piece of information is a string. It's a string of characters. So one character, one character, one character, one character. There's HALLWAY. There's 7 characters in a string. Okay. Second object here, second piece of information here, second piece of data here is a number. Okay. You can call it a float or integer. Float. You can separate it into floats and integers and other types of numbers, but in the end they're all numbers, and the operations between numbers are generally the same. Okay, so there's number, and then there's string, number, string, number, and this number represents the square meters, I believe. Yeah, square meters of this room. That's the idea in this exercise. Okay, and then so correct the bathroom area. So bathroom area. Bathroom area is this one, right? So 9.5 is the bathroom area. I'm supposed to update this. So this is the last item in this areas list. So I can get it by doing -1. So I will assign a new value to it, and new value will be 10.5, right, based on the instructions here. Update the area of the bathroom area to be 10.5 square meters instead of 9.5. Okay, so 10.5. Yeah, hi. Looks like there's new people joining us in the stream. Welcome, and we've already answered the questions which we had prepared for this session. Feel free to ask more questions. We will post the answers to the questions in the forum topic after the session is done. In the forum topic, and forum topic is makerspace here. Right. So make sure you are always getting the new link to the streams here, and also you can visit the past streams here. Okay. Okay, nope, not here. And yes, okay, let's continue on. Yeah. Okay, and of course, we don't expect you to have to stay on for the entire 2 hours. You don't have to attend every session of our live sessions, but just pop in whenever you want to check out the live coding, follow along live coding, get some motivation to continue with your exercises, with your lessons within AI4I. ask any questions that you have for any barriers that you're facing. Say hi to your fellow learners in the chat. Okay. We're still working on the Telegram group for AI4I learners. We'll get back to you with more information when we have it. Yeah. Can also use Kangen water ionizer in the chat also says that we can use the YouTube notification button for live stream notification. That's a good point. I'm not 100% sure whether it will work for these live streams because the live streams that we do for AMA, for AI4I AMA live sessions, they are unlisted. So I'm not sure whether if you click the notification button, you'll get the notification. Yeah. Kangen water ionizer, do you know if that still works? Yeah, because they are unlisted. So basically, it won't show up to other YouTube users who follow, who are visiting the AI Singapore channel. You can only access it using the link that we provided to you in the forum and in the emails. Yeah. So, Lawrence, hi Lawrence. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us in the stream today. Happy Wednesday to you. So let's continue on with the exercise. The next instruction that we have here is to make areas list more trendy. Okay, change the living room to chill zone. Living room is this item inside our list, and they're asking us to change it to chill zone. So definitely we know we need to have something which is chill zone, and we need to assign it to one of the spots inside areas. Okay. So which one inside areas? So we have to find out the index of this item so that we can replace this item. Right. So what's this? What's the index of this item? If you remember, for lists, every object in a list has an index. Every piece of information in the list has an index, i.e. an address in the list, so that you know how you can refer to this object. Yeah. So the first item in the list has an index of 0, right? And then it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This just keeps ascending by 1. So hallway has an index of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can easily tell the different items because there's a comma between the items. Between every two items, there's always a comma. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those areas 4, let me change it to chill zone. I think I need to refresh this page. Okay. Run code. Looks good. Submit answers. Yes. So that was sweet. It works. So let's continue on. Okay. Next question. The next exercise here is just to extend the list. As mentioned before, so we're doing live coding on the data camp exercises. Feel free to point out any particular data camp exercises or courses that you are stuck at or that you need help at. Then we'll go through them live. Yes, in future we will also do some on Pandas, some on sklearn, some on data visualization, so that we have a variety of different parts that we cover. Okay. So the next instruction here is to use the plus operator to paste the list pool house 24 to the end of the areas list. So it will be areas, and then at the end, there will be two more items, pool house and 24.5. Right. So we can, as you can see here, you can use the plus operator. You can also use extend. So list1 dot extend list2. This also works. You can also use a plus operator. So we have areas plus pool house, and as you know, you can when you have a string, you can always use single quotes instead of double quotes. It's just personal preference. And then 24.5, store the resulting list as areas1. So areas1, so this is going to be the right side, and we're going to assign it to areas underscore 1 equals, right? So now if areas1 equals to areas plus pool house, comma, 24.5, right? So again, when you see this equal sign, you do the right side first. You get areas, which is this list of this list, and then you add on this list of items. And then once you've done the right side, you've evaluated into one single list, you put that into a box, and you call the box areas underscore 1. Okay. So next one, let's do the next one. Further extend areas1 by adding data on your garage. Okay, so areas2 equals to areas1 plus, and again, just for the first time, every session I'll mention this. When you type your variable name in DataCamp, you'll see some auto completion here. So it will show you the variables which start with what you're typing, right? So I just need areas1, so I can just go press down arrow, I press enter, it gives me areas1 plus garage plus, sorry, not plus, comma 15.45. Looks good. I'll submit my answer. Cool. Okay, let's continue on. Yep. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Any other questions? Feel free to type them into the chat. If you haven't typed in the chat before, please just say hi. Learn to use the chat so you can ask questions anytime. And also request whatever DataCamp exercises you're interested in seeing gone through. Thanks for joining us during your lunch break. Okay, now we want to delete list elements. You use del statement. Yep, correct. You can also use remove, which is commonly used. Okay. So, what is the question? Which of the code chunks will do the job for us? Okay. So we have areas. Yes, these are areas. The amount I won with the lottery is not that big after all. It looks like the pool house isn't going to happen. I want to remove string and float from areas list. Okay, cool. Okay, Ken. So, which ones do I need to do to delete pool house, right? Pool house. So pool house has an index of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need to remove this item, index 10, and this item, index 11. Okay, so I need to remove index 10 and 11. Let's go through the possible answers. First one is del 10, then del 11. So this is a trick answer. So this is meant to mislead you. If you do del 10, it looks good. Yes, you delete this item, which is pool house. But then, if you do del 11 after that, notice that after you delete 10, this will become 10 because this will go up in the list. This becomes 10, this becomes 11, this becomes 12. So if you delete 11, you will delete garage instead of deleting 24.5. So answer 1 is a trick answer. It won't do the trick. Yeah, it's not good. Areas 10:11. This shouldn't work either. 10:11. Hi, Nipen in the chat. Nice to see you and thanks for joining us. Yeah, where are you now in AI4I? Have you started yet? Some people in the chat, I know they haven't actually started the course, but they're looking for inspiration and motivation to start the course. Yeah, yeah. Which lesson or area are you in now, Nipen? Yeah. So yeah. So you do 10:11. It deletes 10, but it doesn't include 11. It doesn't include 11. That's usually how the way the colon works. It includes the first number, but not the last number. So 1:5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't include the last number. So this shouldn't work. This one is -4, -2. -4 to -2. -4 is this one. 2 -2. I think that works because -4 is so you have a minus here, it counts from the back. So -1, -2, -3, -4, yes, correct. Up to -2, but not including -2. Yep, that works. So I would say this definitely works. I don't need to see the last one. Yep, that means my answer is good, great. Okay, inner workings of lists. What I want to do here is change the second command that creates the variables areas copy such that areas copy is an explicit copy of areas. After your edit, changes made to areas copy shouldn't affect areas. Hit submit answer to check this. Okay. Right. Areas copy to areas. So I need to do areas like this. Is that right? Actually, there's a number of ways to do this. So what this particular exercise is saying is that when you have two lists, okay, you have areas equals this list, then you do areas copy equals to areas. What actually happens in Python is that when you change areas copy, areas also will change because they are still referring to the same underlying object. To turn them into two separate objects within your computer's memory, to work on them, make sure changes on one of them doesn't affect the other. You have a number of options. So one option which it says here is this one. You can do this, so this should work. Yeah, so this works. I want to go back. There should also be other ways for it to work. You can do list, like this says. Submit answer, this also works. And another way you can do, if I'm not wrong, is like copy, I think. Python list copy. Yeah, I think it's there, just .copy. Here, so areas.copy. I believe this should work as well. Yeah, this also works as well. So there's multiple ways to do it. 3 ways to do it that I know of. Okay. Nipan, you're from SIT. You're working on an industry project required to develop financial analytical model. Cool. Yeah. So you'll be looking at things like time series. You definitely want to be interested in working with time series and so on and so forth. Yeah, and probably you want to use decimal as a decimal type. So instead of using floats, you often want to use decimals when you're working with money. Actually, it depends on the use case. Sometimes it's not necessary as well. Okay. Yeah, let's go next. Go to the next one. Functions, fantastic, my favorite topic in Python. Yeah, so functions, what are functions? So functions, they are workers. When I taught at General Assembly, how I teach is that functions are workers. They are workers that you create from the ground up, from scratch, from absolute nothing, from the mud, you create a worker. And this worker, you teach the worker to do some kind of a work. And then after that, you get the worker to do his work. Okay. So when you teach this worker to do the work, right, you can tell him to take inputs when he does his work. When he does his work, he'll take inputs, and you can also tell him to report back to you some kind of output when he's done with his work. Okay, and just keep this analogy in mind while we go through functions. Okay, so blah blah blah, print out the type of variable one, type var1. So var type here is a function. So the function, after a function you have a parenthesis. After the parenthesis, then you will have the inputs inside the function. Yeah, inputs inside the function, parameters. Inside the parameters, you have the inputs. So this type is a function. It's a worker that takes this input. Okay. Let me remove sign out from Slack. Okay, yeah. And when it is done with its work, what is its work? Its work is to figure out what is the type of data or that is the input. What is the type of this input data? And it will output the type of the input data. And it will return that data. So that is basically what it's going to report back to you when it's done. Okay? And then what it reports back will be the type of the data, and we will print that. We will print that. Okay. Next thing we do is print len var1. Okay. Convert var2 to an integer. Out2. Out2 equals to int var2. Right. Okay. Here is the assignment operator. We do the integer conversion of var2 and put it into a box and call the box out2. Submit answer, that should be good. So len is a very useful function, is to check the length of a variable. So length is different in different contexts. So in a string, it tells you how many characters are inside a string. For a function, for a list, it tells you how many items are inside the list. Okay, great. So here it says you can do help. Yes, you can do help. Print. It shows you documentation, gives you some information about the print function. Right. Complex. Takes two arguments. Okay, let's do help complex. Okay, complex. So here, okay, this is a very useful thing to learn for new learners. Okay, so complex here is telling us that complex is a function. Okay, complex is a function. If we do help complex, I put complex within the parenthesis of help, it will give us documentation on the function, this complex function. And how do we read this documentation? If you are a new programmer, you'll find it confusing. How do you read this documentation? So what you need to do is, the first thing you see here is complex, then open parenthesis, real, then there's this strange square bracket, then comma emag, close square bracket, close parenthesis. Then there's an arrow, then there's complex number. Okay, so yeah, so what does this even mean, right? So this is the function signature. Here's the function signature. It tells you in a nutshell, it tells you very simply, what are the function's inputs and outputs? What does it input and what does it output? That is the most important thing for a function. When you have a function, it will take in some number of inputs, which can be 0 inputs, and it will cancel the output. Right. So the input here, it tells you that there is one input, real. The one input that takes in is real. Then the square brackets here, square brackets tells you that this is optional. When you look at the function signature, square brackets tells you it's optional. So you have one necessary, mandatory input and one optional input. Optional input is the imaginary part of the complex number. Okay, and then when you do this, it will return a complex number. Basically, that's it. Complex takes exactly 2 arguments. Yes, correct. One is, yes, correct. One is a required argument, one is an optional argument. Emac is an optional argument, exactly. Submit answer. Great. Actually, let me go back as well. And then sometimes you'll see something like real, comma, emac equals to 1. Emac equals to 1. So that's telling you that when you don't specify this optional input, this optional parameter, then it will be defaulting to the value 1. If it says equals to 1. Okay, let's continue. Multiple arguments. Again, when you see the word arguments, it's not about people fighting, it's not about a married couple fighting after they've been married too long. It is basically just another word to talk about inputs to a function. So it's commonly, the 3 common terms are input, the function parameter, and the function arguments. Okay? Technically, there is a difference between argument and parameter, but functionally, there's no difference. Functionally, you see why I did that? Okay, let's continue. So it says, use plus to merge the contents of first and second into a new list, full. So full equals to first plus second. Right, we learned this in the previous exercise, in the previous lesson. So if you do list A plus list B, it will combine the 2 lists into a new list. And then we put it into a box and call the box full. Okay. Sort full in descending order. So we do sorted full descending order. So it should be reverse equals true. And then so how do I know that it's reverse equals true? It says here, specify the reverse argument to be true. Save the sorted list as full sorted. Full sorted equals to sorted. And then print out full sorted. Print full sorted. Okay, so we submit this and it should be fine. Methods. Again, methods are just the same as functions, except that they are kind of like married to certain objects. They are married to certain types of data. Certain types of data have methods attached to them. So for example, if I do S equals to ABC, or Yisheng is my name, then if I check S, it says Yisheng here. If I do S dot upper, so dot upper here is the method. This dot upper method returns the uppercase of the string that called it, right? So this dot upper method is married to all strings. All strings have access to dot upper. Okay, so this is just what I mean by methods are just functions which are married to certain types of data. Okay. Oh yeah, actually they use dot upper here. I didn't see that earlier on. Okay, dot upper. So place underscore up equals to place dot upper. Print out place and place up. Place up. Print out the number of O's in place. Number of O's in place. So based on the instructions, it says we can count place, and then we can do place.count O's. Okay, and then that's good. So the answer looks good. Cool. Okay, let's continue onwards. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them again in the chat, in the YouTube chat. If you are watching this from the forum topic, make sure you actually click on the title of the video itself. Click on the title of the video itself in the forum topic. So what I mean is, here, if you're watching it from here, you won't be able to participate in the live chat. So what you should do is to click on this. Click on this. Click on this, and then you are at the live chat. You can type in the live chat here. Okay. Yes, so please do that and say hi if you've just joined us. Okay. Yes. Let's continue on. Again, we are at the live coding part and going through exercises in DataCamp. But you are still feel free to ask any questions you have on AI4I, or even about programming in general or whatever. So feel free to ask your questions, and also let us know if you're interested in any particular DataCamp exercise. Just let me know, and then we will go through that as well live. While I'm doing the DataCamp exercise on my side, you can also just put me in the background, open up a new tab, and start your own DataCamp exercises. Continue on from wherever you are, since it's quite likely that you are at somewhere else from where I am. Right. And then if you encounter any problems, just feel free to type them into the chat and we'll work it out together. Okay, list methods. So index, blah, 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 areas.index 20.0. Oh, print out the index. So I need to print. So this areas.index will return the index of the element or the item 20.0. Okay, but to print it out, I need to pass it as an input into the function print, which is why I'm doing this. Right? So I'm going to do print, open parenthesis. I press down on my keyboard, I press left on my keyboard to go to the end, and then I will close parenthesis. So now this is an input, it will be printed out to the screen. So print will show it to the screen. Print out how often 9.5 appears in areas. So areas.count 9.5. Looks good. Submit answer. Press enter. Great. Again, there are some other basic functions in list. Append twice to add pool house and garage size. Areas.append. Pool house is 24.5. Let's hit one more time. 15.45. Print out areas. Reverse the orders of the elements in areas. So areas dot reverse based on just the instructions here. It's not that I memorized the syntax, it's just following the instructions here. Use the reverse method to reverse that. So this is exactly how you do it. This is the list dot reverse. This is the reverse method. And then so now there's a question. Okay, there's a question. When I do areas.reverse, there's two possibilities that could be the case, and I'm not sure of which is the actual case. So let me explain. Okay, the first case is that it reverses the order of all of these items in the list, and then changes areas itself, changes this item itself, changes the list itself. It directly changes the list when I do dot reverse. So that's what we call an in-place function, or it works in place, right? And you'll see this quite commonly in Pandas functions as well. So there's often an in-place parameter where you can say in place is true, then it will work like that. The other possibility is that I have to do areas equals to areas.reverse. This is the possibility where it reverses these items, it reverses all the items, and then it returns the reversed items. So when it returns the reversed items, it doesn't actually directly change the list. And in order for me to change the list, I need to do areas equals to the value which is returned. You know what I mean? Okay, so how do I even find out whether it is which case it is? It is. Yeah. Does it mutate itself? Does it change itself? Does it change areas by itself, or do I need to assign the output to areas again? So what I can do here is type actually dot reverse. How do I even get the help for dot reverse? Let me see. Actually, yes, I can just do areas dot reverse. It should work fine. Oh no, I don't get areas. Okay, so let me do ls equals to this, then help ls dot reverse. Reverse method, see, it says reverse in place. This is exactly what I'm looking for. It says l.reverse, it reverses in place, which means it will directly change areas. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. And in fact, if I do that, it will probably give me an error. Not so much an error, but it will give me the wrong result. Okay? So if I just do this, I will just do it like this, and then we'll print out areas. Control-Shift-Enter to submit my answers, and again, it's correct. We can press Enter to continue. Packages, okay, very interesting part. So, packages. A package is just a Python file. Is that right? Can I fairly say that? No. A package is not just a Python file. A package is a folder of Python files. Okay? A package is a folder of Python files. And to import a folder of Python files, it means that you bring it into your code, into your runtime, into your program, into your Python script, so that you can use the code from this folder of Python files. So you can use the code from all the Python files inside this folder that you're importing, inside this package that you're importing. What am I even talking about, right? Okay, so let's show you an example here. We import math, which is a package. There's a folder of Python files. It has lots of Python files which define functions to do with mathematics, which is why it's called math. Case, blah, 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 calculate C, calculate A, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So 2, C is a circumference, it's 2 times circumference 2 pi r. Okay, so math dot pi times r. Right. So to do times, you do asterisk, which is shift 8. So math.py. So math is a package. Within this folder, I can access different variables and different functions by doing a dot. So a dot pi. It gives me the value of pi itself, 3.1419 something. Yeah, I used to have a classmate who could memorize like 100 digits of pi, but yeah, I can't do that. So luckily we have this math package. So 2 times math.py times r, and r is defined up here, 0.43. Okay, then a will do math.py times math.py times r to the power of 2. So to the power of is star star. Okay, star star 2. For those who are just joining us in the chat, feel free to say hi in the chat. And yeah, say hi and connect with your fellow learners. If you have any questions, just feel free to type them into the chat directly, into the YouTube chat. And yeah, or if you have any data camp exercises you want to go through, just type it into the chat. So circumference equals plus string C. Yeah, okay, that's sure. Great, so we're good. Definition of radius is 192500. Import radians function from math package. So there's a second way to import packages or functions in packages. Okay? Or import like variables or functions in packages. And how we can do that is, instead of doing import math, so the second way we're doing is from math, which is the name of the package, import radians. From math, import radians. And the difference here is that now when I want to refer to radians, the radians function, I don't need to type math.radians. I can directly type radians. This is the only difference in these two methods of importing functions or importing values and functions. This is the only difference. The way that you reference the function later on. Okay, this just your whichever way you want to do it. Okay, for certain functions, there's like some kind of a standard way to do it, so you should probably follow the standard. In other cases, just do whatever feels good to you. Travel distance to the moon. The travel distance of moon over 12 degrees. Store in dist. So store in dist. I know I need to do dist equals to. And let's read the instructions. Calculate the distance traveled by the moon over 12 degrees of its orbit. Oh, okay. So basically, the moon revolves around the sun. No, what am I talking about? The moon revolves around the Earth, and after it has traveled 12 degrees around the Earth, how much distance has it traveled, right? So you can calculate this with r.phi. R is the radius. R is the radius, and phi is the angle in radians. R times phi, so radians, 12, right? 12 is the degrees, is after 12 degrees. Then we can print out this, right? Okay. Let me just submit my answer. Okay, it looks correct. It's correct. So there's one thing actually I want to talk about here. What actually happens when you import code, when you import a package or you import when we import like this from math import radians, when you import a package, what actually happens is that Python will actually run the entire package. It will run the code in the entire package. So if it's a big package, it will take a longer time. Okay. But most packages, they are as space efficient as possible, so it will be very quick. So when you just do import something, you run it, it's very fast. Right? So it actually runs the entire piece of code, but nothing actually happens. Nothing like shows on your screen, right? Because when it runs the code, it just defines functions and stuff that you can use. And if you don't use it, then nothing happens. That's fine. But then you can use those functions and values if you like. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So what happens when you do from package import a function? Actually, it also still runs the entire package. It runs the entire package. Doing this isn't any faster than doing import math. So doing this, not faster than this. It's not any faster. Both of them still need to run the entire piece of code. It's just that when you do this, you only have access to this piece of this function, the radians function. Okay. Yeah. So this was something that I myself was curious about when I first learned about this. And another interesting question here when it comes to packages is, where do you even get these packages? I'll go through that if the datachem course doesn't go through it. For now, let's just see whether it goes through it. The different ways of importing, blah, blah, blah. Which import statement do you need to run? Do you need in order to run the above code without an error? Okay, so if we do import scipy, my underscore inf. Oh, right, okay. Here's another tricky question here. So if we do import scipy, the only variable we will be able to access in our code is scipy. That's the easy way to understand it. That's the only variable that we get to access in our code, scipy. If I want to get this linalg, which is linear algebra sub-package, is a package, a folder within the folder. If I want to get access to this, I need to do scipy dot linear algebra. Okay, scipy dot linear algebra. So obviously this cannot be the answer, because if I do this, I definitely don't have access to this function, my inf. Definitely no. How about this? If I do import scipy dot linalg, the only variable that I will have access to is going to be scipy dot linalg. I will have access to this scipy dot linalg. I won't be able to have access to anything else. Okay, so if I want to get this inv function, I will need to do scipy dot linalg dot inv. This is what I'll need to do. Of course, it doesn't work here because it's not defined yet. Okay, so let's see, can we import scipy? Okay, we can import scipy. So we do scipy.linalg. It's not attribute linalg, right? Because it's a subfolder, so you can't actually do that. Dot inv. What? Oh, I can't do that. Okay. So I can't do that. So yeah, looks like if I do import scipy, I can't actually get access to the inv. seems. So what I need to do is import scipy.linalg, which is linear algebra. And then now I can do scipy.linalg.inv. Right. It shows it's a function, so I can call it. But this doesn't, I can't access inv by itself, right? I can't access inv by itself. Obviously, it gives me an error, it's not defined. To access it, I need to do this whole thing. So, number 2 answer is definitely wrong. Number 3 is from scipy.linalg import my_inv. This my underscore, right, gives you a clue that it has been edited by the user. It's not something that is like some default function, some stock function. Okay, so you can see that the stock function is called inv. This is my inv. So it won't work because this my inv has not been is not included inside scipy.linalg. Scipy.linalg only has inv. Okay, only has inv. So the answer is number 4. From scipy.linalg, linear algebra, scipy.linear algebra, import inv, and now we see one special thing as my inv. So we're going to import inv, but when we're importing it, we're going to call it my inv. That's what as my inv means. Okay, so now we can access my inv. This is pretty much exactly the same as if we did this, then we do my inv equals to inv. Same thing. Same thing. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Now we are done with that. NumPy. Okay, it didn't go through where you get these packages from. So now let me talk about that. Okay, let's talk about that. So packages, again, as we talked about, are just folders with Python files. And then you can use these folders of Python files. You can use the code inside these Python files, inside your own code. Okay? The question is, where do you get these packages from? Where is it importing from? Importing, it tells you that it's importing from somewhere, correct? But where is it importing from? So, there are a number of places. The first place is going to be the standard library. The Python standard library. So you can Google this. Let's Google this. Python standard library. So this is the Python standard library. Click on it. It shows you Python standard library. What is the Python standard library? And what even is a library? It's a very common term, often associated with packages and modules. So a library is a group of packages. A library is a group of packages. A package is a group of modules, which can often contain only one module. A module is a Python file. So you have a Python file, which is a module, and a group of this is called a package, and a group of packages is called a library. Okay, so that's that. So the Python standard library is all the packages which are included when you install Python. And I'm sure some of you people here in the audience, you're following along, but you haven't started the course, and then you haven't installed Python yet. So how do you install Python? Let's install Python. So to install Python, you go to python.org, go to downloads, and you download. If you're using Windows, you just download this one, 3.8.5. Just download that, and that's that. You have installed Python. Okay. Great. Yeah, so when you install Python, it will come with all the standard library. In any of your Python files, you can always import modules from the Python standard library. Python standard library. So what are some of the modules in the Python standard library? Yeah, you can see string, right? String, RE for regular expressions, struct, date time, working with dates and times, calendar, working with calendars, some other stuff, numbers, mathematics. Yeah, this is math, the one we just saw. So it's part of the standard library. Where else can you get more packages? Standard library is not the only place. Second place, right, is the PYPA. No, it's not the PY, it's the Python. Oh yes, actually, is the whole place called the PIPA? No, let's see. Python modules. Oh, packages list. PYPI, right? Of course, it's called the PYPI. The PYPA is the people who are managing the PYPI, which is why I was confused just now. So PYPI. The PYPI is the Python Package Index. It is the entire collection of Python packages which you can download. Yes. So yeah, it's this online repository where you can just download Python packages. You can also upload your own Python packages onto PYPI to share to other developers to use. You can see that there are 250,000 different packages that you can download. Okay, so for example, if you want to work with something with games, you can have all these different, okay, there's a base classes for musical games in Python. So this will allow you to help you code your own musical games. Okay. Yes, so that's the PYPI. And how do you download packages from the PYPI? So you click on musical games, it will show you something on the left side here. It will show you here, it says pip install musical games. What is this? This is how you install it. You pip install musical games. So in your VS Code, you can do Control J, which will bring up the terminal. You can also click on CMD to go to your command prompt, and then you can type pip install musical games. This will be installed when you install Python. Pip will be installed when you install Python, and pip is the program which is installing musical games. So what is actually happening? Pip is a program which stands for pip installs Python. So it's a self-referencing program abbreviation. Pip installs Python. It stands for pip installs Python. Yeah, so anyway, so pip install musical games, it will go to the PYPI website, look for a package called musical games, and download it into your computer for you to use. So next time in your code, you can do import musical games. You see it runs. It doesn't have an error. If I just do something else, it will see module not found. But I can do musical games now because I've installed it from pip. Okay. Okay, so let's continue on. So now you know where modules come from. Okay. Oh yeah, when you are installing Python, make sure you add pip to your path so that you can do pip install Python and it won't have some kind of an error. So what do I mean by that? Let's go to Python. Let's install Python. Downloads, Python for Windows. Yes. So click on this. So let's say you modify. So next, Yes, okay, so here are advanced options. Make sure you add Python to environment variables. Usually it says something about path. If it says something about path, and path is capital P-A-T-H, then make sure you click that checkbox. Okay, click the checkbox. Add Python to environment variables, and that should, maybe that's the new thing that they're saying now. Yeah, yeah, that's all. So when you do that, then install. Then you'll be fine. Here you can see optional features. Pip installs pip, which installs other Python packages. That's what I was talking about. Okay. Let's continue onwards. Different ways of importing some answer. Let's go next. Hi everyone who's just joining into our session. We will finish off at 2 p.m. So we have gone through a question earlier on about how to choose which model to use when training your data sets. And in the audience, we had a question about understanding train test split, X train, X test, Y train, and Y test, and what X and Y means, and then about fit and transform. So we've gone through that as well. If you missed it, you can watch the recording later on, or you can actually just rewind in the stream, and you should be able to see the explanation as well. We will also post this stream, the link for the stream, in the forum post. And the forum post is here. Make sure you go into community events inside our Makerspace forum and get to this this thread. And this thread will contain the link for the next session as well, and all the sessions coming after. Great. Let's continue onwards. Yes. If you have any particular exercises that you want us to watch, now, if any data type exercises you want us to go through, then just put it in the chat, and we'll work with that. If you have anything you want me to demonstrate, like a data visualization or some typical model workflow, or whatever else, just make a note in the chat, and we'll see what we can do. Even if we don't go through it today, we can go through it next week. Okay. So let's continue on. Your first NumPy array. So what is a NumPy array? A NumPy array is basically a list. It is just a list. A list-like object. Okay, why do we even need these NumPy arrays if they are like lists? Because for a number of reasons. One is NumPy arrays have different methods which are attached to them that you can use. Okay. Another thing is that NumPy arrays, some functions only work with NumPy arrays. So you need to convert your list into NumPy arrays before they can work. Okay. So let's import NumPy. When you import NumPy, you always so what is NumPy? NumPy is a package for working with numbers. It contains a lot of convenience functions for working with numbers. Yeah, including like generating random numbers, generating distributions of numbers, generating different types of distributions of numbers, and so on and so forth. Fast calculation of certain operations, certain mathematical operations. Yeah. So import NumPy. When we import NumPy, the standard is always to import it as NP. So when you see NP dot something, it's actually NumPy, but we import it as NP. So basically we import NumPy, but we call it NP. Okay. Create NumPy array from baseball. So baseball here is a list. We're going to create a NumPy array from it. So NumPy.array, and then we will put baseball. The input will be baseball. So what does this do? It turns it into a NumPy array. From a list, it will convert it into a list-like object, i.e. a NumPy array. Yeah, this NumPy array. And then we're going to print out the type. Print type NumPy NP baseball. NP baseball not defined, of course, because here when I do np.array baseball, it returns the NumPy array. So when it returns the NumPy array, it's like it's throwing the NumPy array into the air. We need to catch it and put it into a variable. So we need to np baseball equals to this. So this is throwing it into the air, and then we need to catch it and put it into a box. Put it into a box, call it np baseball. And submit answer, and golden. Okay, next height is available as a regular list. Height is available as a regular list. Import NumPy, great. Create a NumPy array from height in array height in. So np height in equals to this. Do I have access to height in? Yes, it seems like it. Print out np height in. Height in. Looks good. And then convert it to meters, right? So convert it to meters. What we can do is np height in times 0.0254. So this is basically what it's saying in the instructions. Multiply the whole array times a number. So what will happen is 0.0254 will be multiplied to every number in the array, in this NumPy array. And then we're going to catch it and put it into a box called np underscore height equals underscore m, right? So that's that. Then we print it. np underscore height equals m. Autocomplete, submit answer. Great. Height and weight are available. Very good. Create an array from weight pounds with metric units times 0.453592 np weight kg equals to this. Okay. So let's continue. So we have the weight kg. Calculate the BMI. So the BMI. So we're not going to store the answer into a variable called BMI. So we do BMI equals. What's going to be on the right side? BMI equals to your weight divided by your meter squared, your height squared, right? Yeah, weight, this one, divided by this squared to the power of 2, and print it out. Print out BMI. Right. Okay, and then print it out. It's golden. Okay. Next, we're going to create the light array. Light array. What is the light array? Let's read this. Create a Boolean NumPy array. Okay, create a Boolean NumPy array. The element of the array should be true if the corresponding baseball player's BMI is below 21. You can use the less than operator for this. Name the array light. So the array light is equal to BMI underscore 21. Is that right? Yes, looks like it. Print out light. So I'm just following. So here I'm just following the example here. So high equals to y more than 5. Then yeah, you do y high. Okay. Okay. Print out BMIs of all players whose BMI is below 21. So BMI light. So we're going to print this whole thing out without this whole thing. Great. Right, so this is how we do it. If any part that I'm doing is too fast, you can always rewind a bit inside YouTube Live. Inside the YouTube streaming, you can always go back. In YouTube, some very useful shortcuts would be J and L. So J will go back 10 seconds, L goes forward 10 seconds. Yes, you can always go back and rewind my explanations. You can also, what I really like to do within YouTube is to use the Chrome Video Speed Controller. I find this like essential. Video Speed Controller, this is the one. So Video Speed Controller allows you to use S and D to speed up and slow down your videos, any kind of videos, very easily. So D increases it by 0.1 speed, 0.1x speed. So all videos start at 1x speed, right, which is the 100% speed. And usually when I watch educational videos, I will increase it to something like 1.5x speed or 1.8x speed or 2x speed, sometimes even 3x speed. And then just slow down to at the parts where I don't understand, or the parts which that I'm looking for, the certain parts that I'm looking for, then I'll slow it down to 1x speed or maybe 1.3x speed. Yeah, so I find this the most efficient way to use your time. Because usually the person on the video is not going at the exact pace that you want him to go at. And I'm sure I'm not going at the exact pace that you want me to go at as well. So you can always use the Video Speed Controller when you watch the recordings. As Hugo explained before, blah, blah, blah. Okay, can you tell which code chunk builds the exact same Python object? The NumPy package is already imported, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is true 1, 2. Oh, okay. So np.array true 1, 2. AR1, so I'm going to define this. Array 2 is going to be np.array true, no, 3, 4, false. And then if I add AR1 plus AR2, so what actually happens here, you can see, is that each array has 3 items. And yeah, each array has 3 items. If these were lists, if you do this plus this, what you end up with is true 1, 2, 3, 4, false, right? This is what you end up with if these were lists. But because these are arrays, they interact differently when you do plus on them. So how it works here is that you do true plus 3, 1 plus 4, 2 plus false. And NumPy will convert true to 1 and false to 0, which is why you get 1 plus 3, which is 4. 1 plus 4 is 5, and 2 plus 0, which is 2, which is why you get this as the output. Okay, so it's the same as if we do this, right? The second one, right? Great. True is converted to 1, false converted to 0. Okay, subsetting NumPy arrays is the same as lists. It's pretty much the same as lists. So let's do this. Print out the weight at index 50. Index 50, so you just do 50 with the square bracket, 50. And then print out the subarray of np underscore height. and then index 100 up to including 110. 100 to 111. Because I want to include 110, so I need to change this to 111. Because it always doesn't include the last index. It doesn't include 111. So it will include 110. Looks okay, looks good. Nice. 2D NumPy arrays, okay. So we now want to create a 2D NumPy array. What is a 2D array? It's the same as a 2D list. Basically, it is a list of lists. Right? A 2D list is a list of lists. A 2D NumPy array is an array of arrays. Right? So, yep, simple. NumPy array np underscore baseball. No. np underscore baseball equals to this. We print out the type. Print type. And this. Yep. np baseball not defined. Let's try again. np not defined. Okay, done. Yeah, np nd array. Wait. Something is wrong. Something's wrong. Do the appropriate. Oh, I have to print out the shape of. I didn't scroll down. So print shape. np.baseball.shape. NumPy.baseball. No, np underscore baseball. Okay, that's cool. We're done with that. Next, import NumPy is np create the 2D NumPy array, np.array from baseball, and baseball is available. You see, it tells us that baseball is available for us to use. And then now we want to print out the shape. I believe we've already done this just now. Anyway, pbaseball.shape. pbaseball not defined, of course, because I didn't assign it to catch the return output from this np.array. So submit answer. So one thing for new programmers, you'll come to realize that you end up doing a lot of silly mistakes. And it's completely normal. It's 100% normal that you have some stupid mistakes. So don't worry. Just keep calm, and then you know that everybody goes through the same mistakes. Everybody makes the same mistakes. Yeah. Don't take it too hard. Okay. So next, print out the 50th row of np baseball. Print 50th row of np baseball. 50th row should be the 49th index, because index 0 is the first row, right? So we need to minus 1. Entire second column. Oh, right. The 50th row, because it's a 2D array, we need to do something different. The row is going to be colon, and then this, right? And then select the entire second column. Width equals to np baseball. Entire second column is going to be column 1, like that. Print out the height. Print out the height. Okay, print out the height of np baseball. Print out the height of the 124th player. Okay, so the 124th player is 1, 2, 3, NP baseball. 1, 2, 3, and then comma. I just want the height, and the height is going to be the first column, column 0. Okay, out of bounds, of course, because it should be the other way around. It should be 49, comma this, and this one should be the other way around. Right. So just now I made a mistake in which the rows of the array should be the first number here. When you're accessing a 2D array, the syntax is a little bit different. So you have square brackets here, and then 2 numbers here, separated by a colon, a comma. So the first number is here. This number can also be a range. And here you have a second number, here's a range. This colon means everything, all the columns. So all the columns for the 50th row. For the 50th row, all the columns. All the columns, this colon you can think of it as from the first one to the end, which is why it's colon, because it's just it starts from the first one up to the last one. Yeah, if you don't specify the first and the last, it will just take all of them as the first and the last. So here we're going to take the row, all the rows for the second column. The second column is column with the index 1. So all the rows, all the rows, comma, for the second column, 1. Okay, and then here we have print out 124th player height. 124th player has the index 1, 2, 3, and the height is 0. The height is the first column, so it's 0, index of 0. So submit answer and it's okay. So for those who are just joining in the live session, welcome. But we are finishing off the live session at 2 p.m. in 2 minutes. Feel free to rewind the session. Make sure when you are watching the video, make sure and if you're watching getting the link from the forum, make sure you click into the title of the video, of the embedded video, and you can actually rewind. You can rewind the stream, okay, to see what we have talked about earlier. You can also wait for the stream link to be up, the video to be up. We will update this sticky post for the AI4I AMA live sessions. We're going to update this constantly, so it will be the next past session. Yes, it will be next past session, and you will also be able to find the link to next week's stream on this post as well. So if you're interested and if you like all our AI4I AMA live sessions, make sure you bookmark this post. Make sure you bookmark this page. Okay, last exercise before we close off for the day. If you have any last questions, also make sure you feel free to ask them right now before we close off. So make sure you ask them last questions, taking last questions. Yes. Okay, print out the addition of NP baseball plus updated. So just add these two. Conversion. Convert. So NP array what is it trying to get us to do? Print out the result, okay? You want to convert this, create an NumPy array with 3 values. Conversion, okay, conversion equals to NumPy array. with three values, 0.0254, 0.453592, and 1. Name this array conversion, okay. Print out the product of NP baseball and conversion. NP underscore baseball times conversion. So what this will do is, if you look at NP baseball, it has 3 columns. It has 3 columns. Yes, right here it says NP baseball has been coded for you. It's an array with 3 columns. And this conversion has 3 values here. So this first value will be multiplied by all the rows in the first column. This will be multiplied by all the rows in the second column, and 1 will be multiplied by all the rows in the third column. Submit, and then you get that. Yeah, so we're done. Okay, yep, so that is the last exercise we're going to do for this session. Thanks for joining us today, and if you have any feedback, just let us know. You can also let us know within the forum post itself for AI4I AMA live sessions. You can always check the next session up here. We'll always update next session here. In fact, I'm going to do it right after this. And Elizabeth Tan has a question. How do we use this knowledge on data from file? Can you clarify your question? What are you, where are you getting this data from file from? On data from file. Are you talking about importing data from your file and then working with your data from your file? Elizabeth Tan, thanks for joining us, by the way, on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. Yes, importing data, great. Yes, so let me just show you here. I have an example workflow here. So we do all of our imports, and I'm now working within Visual Studio Code. This is my preferred text editor, also known as IDE. You just install it, it's completely free. Install Visual Studio Code, and then you open up, and then all your code gets beautifully formatted like this. You create a .ipynb file, which is an IPython notebook. You can run code like this in different blocks. And then, so this is the way that we import data to work with data. Okay, this is the most common way. Most commonly, we are going to import it directly into Pandas. Okay, so you see, I'm going to import Pandas as PD, and then under PD, which is Pandas, there's a function called read CSV. So it will read a CSV file. The CSV file is usually an Excel file. You usually open it as an Excel file, which has just columns. It's a table of data. Yeah. You can also do pd.readExcel. Yeah, you can also do pd.readExcel, and you can put a path to your Excel file, your my Excel file.xlsx. Yeah. So this is how you get data into your program to work with it. Okay, this is how you get data into your program to work with it. And this path, basically, it is relative to wherever your current file is. So if your data is in the same file, so for example, if I have my CSV, and then I wanted to import this data, so it would just be my CSV.csv. My CSV.csv, because it's in the same folder. I'm working in this folder, and this is in the same folder. So you just do it like this. Yeah. Okay, and so once you do this, and you save it into a variable, you call it df. This variable is commonly called df for data frame. The data frame is now data in a format which It's very easy to manipulate and use. And you can often use NumPy functions on data frames as well. Yeah, hopefully I've answered your question. Does that answer your question sufficiently, Elizabeth Tan? Of course, this won't be complete for your understanding if you're not 100% clear on, if you're not very clear, or if you've not really learned about pandas yet, and you are still new to Python, then definitely it won't be sufficient. But make sure you go through the exercises and the data camp lessons within AI4I, and this will all be clear. Yeah. If not, I will also go through more about this next lesson when it comes to next week's when it's AI4I AMA live session. Is that all right, Elizabeth Tan? If okay. Currently use Python to design lucky draw system. We'll check with you on next week. Next week on that. Sure, lucky draw system. I also actually used Python to create lucky draw numbers for my previous company's lucky draw, one of the events that we were doing, some company event. Yes, I also did that. So yes, thanks. Okay, great. Okay, so with that, we will end off this session, and I hope to see you guys again next week. Hope to see more progress on the AI4I course, and yeah, see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us, and ciao.